All right, folks. So I mentioned this during my live on Twitter and in my episode review. I am glad that Maurice lost his job, mainly due to the fact that we're finally seeing consequences and repercussions for the actions that these characters have taken over the past few seasons, which again is something I'm glad we are seeing. It just shows that it makes it more realistic. I like the fact that this boss character, Miss India, this was her first episode, probably her only one as well, but the fact that she was able to verbalize what I've been, you know what? I rank Miss India up there with D.A. Burke. D.A. Burke. A new character who came in for like one scene. Yeah, D.A. Burke was in a couple more scenes, but you get what I'm saying. A one-off character who comes in, sees the ridiculousness of the storyline that's been going on for 1 or 2 years at this point, and squashes it immediately. The fact that Miss India is like, look, Sabrina, we're going to give you your job back because the DA vouched for you. And we, even though me and the DA were like, nah, Sabrina's good. The higher ups at the bank weren't convinced, but with your track record and everything, we were able to determine that bringing you back on board wasn't a bad idea. We're going to put you in a different branch, but you're going to be assistant manager rather than manager since that branch already has a manager, but they do need some help over there. Maurice, on the other hand, we're not bringing him back. And even if he truly had nothing to do with the robbery, because looking at it from our perspective, from the outside in, it's not really convincing that he's completely clean, given the fact that he was fraternizing with the robber Q. Seriously, he had this person in his home. That is very suspicious. But even if we take that off the table, Maurice does not have a great track record at work. So many complaints have come in, which no doubt are linked to his very unprofessional, vulgar behavior on and off the clock when he's at the building. And as a result of that, it's just one of those things where the juice is not worth the squeeze. Maurice is just not worth bringing back on, which to me says that Sabrina has allowed this guy to just slide with way too much at work. Because if Sabrina was just either, let's say if Sabrina wasn't the top dog at the bank and there was another person in charge instead of her, Maurice would have been fired a long time ago. I have no doubt in my mind that anytime a complaint came through, Sabrina would just probably bring it up to Maurice, like, Maurice, you need to start acting more professional because, 5 people have said you cursed a lot when they were trying to do a transaction, or this guy said you tried to flirt with him even though he said he was straight. And Maurice was like, child, because he would just say something sassy in return, not taking anything serious. Heck, he's been called out multiple times for never being able to take things seriously, but when repercussions come his way, he wants to act all surprised. But no, I truly think that even with these complaints and whatnot, Sabrina either did nothing about it, Maurice never changed, and acting like it just didn't happen. But somehow these complaints did make it up to corporate, and they saw it, and they were like, nah, we're not bringing this guy back. And now Maurice, just like when he, got locked up, or when he got out and saw that, things were getting worse for him, he just looked around looking stupid like, why is this happening? This doesn't make any sense. You did this to your damn self. You have nobody to blame but yourself. And I will say the only good thing to come out of this is when Sabrina went over there to talk with Maurice, he didn't give her any attitude by trying to say, well, how come you got your job back, but I didn't get mine back? Or basically trying to insinuate like, oh, okay, so what, did you throw me under the bus so you can get your job back while I couldn't get mine back? Basically, catching an attitude with her like when she got out of jail before he did. And she, he was thinking that something shady was going on. No. And Sabrina tried to like, well, maybe I can write a letter. Wait, I'm not a manager anymore, so I can't give you a recommendation. Which again, Sabrina, the last thing you want to do is try to put yourself on the line to get Maurice's job back when Miss India said, look, if it wasn't for like your stellar record and me putting in a good word for you along with the DA, there's a good chance you wouldn't have gotten your job back. And remember what DA Burke said to Maurice after he told Sabrina and Maurice they were free to go. The charges dropped. Hey, just beware of the company you keep. What the F you just say? DA Burke was like, excuse me? I have no, I have no doubt in my mind that DA Burke and Miss India probably talked about Maurice as well. And then Miss India was like, well, we actually got a lot of complaints about him on the job. And it's like, well, let me tell you about the way he conducted himself during the meeting when I was telling him and Sabrina the charges were dropped. Remember what I said a few weeks ago about how go back to when Bio's lawyer didn't show up at the jail for Maurice. And I'm like, I think Bio honestly told the lawyer to help him out. But after that first meeting with Maurice and how unprofessional and vulgar he was in his office, he probably told Bio, you know what? I'm not even going to deal with this person because he's just awful, completely unprofessional, overly vulgar, and it's not worth my time. And I said, yep, that's probably what happened off screen. And that's why he didn't show up. Again, it goes back to Maurice never being able to take anything seriously, just being overly flamboyant. And this isn't me being like homophobic or anything. It's just like, that's not the way to conduct yourself in a professional setting at all. And then you wonder why people treat you a certain way. And then on top of that, he goes on to say, I'm going to sue. Yeah, they can't refuse to give me my job back because of some personal stuff that I let Q stay with me. And I'm just, the stupidity and the gall and the entitlement is ridiculous with this guy. The fact that he, like, anytime somebody tries to help him, he just walks all over him like, oh, you better help me and you better do something and you better get this person to vouch for me or whatever. Or it's like, no. The fact that he doesn't even have a case. It goes back to like way back when he was, when he thought that Sabrina, railroaded him so she can get out. And then the question was, wait, is Maurice going to sign some sort of deal where he'll get on the stand to speak against Sabrina if it means his own freedom? And it's like, even if that were to happen, my biggest thing, one, Sabrina has Andy on her side. She knows lawyers. And then the most damning piece of evidence against Maurice, aside from fraternizing with Q, is the fact that Sabrina was the one that foiled the robbery by informing the other bank that a robbery was taking place, which is something I really wish was brought up during the meeting with Miss India. Like, hey, I'm glad you vouched for me, but did you tell him that I was the one that foiled the bank robbery? Like, that's a very important detail about the robbery I wish was brought up more to show them that Sabrina was innocent. But regardless, Sabrina does say, look, well, I know you can find a job somewhere, but you just can't. It's probably not worth it trying to, file for you could file for unemployment, but it's probably not worth trying to get a job at this particular banking company because no matter what kind of division or branch you try to go to, the corporate will always say, no, we're not hiring this guy back. So in season 7, we do know he is going to have like a web show, and I do believe he will start working at the bank too, because there are character descriptions of the new employees. They're mostly white at this downtown branch. Maurice might start working there again, but here's the thing. Sabrina isn't manager anymore. So even if Maurice starts working at the bank down there, he's going to need to change the way he behaves a lot, because something tells me the employees and the management over there is not going to be as lenient as Sabrina was. He's not going to be able to talk to everybody the way he wants to or however he wants. He's not going to be able to get away with even a fraction of what Sabrina let him get away with. So unless he decides to change, it wouldn't surprise me if he gets the job but then loses it quickly, and then maybe he starts the web show from there, because Maurice needs to grow up. He really does. And I think the most important thing to talk about is, unless he gets some form of bringing in some money, Calvin's either going to kick him out or he's going to get his stuff, or as Maurice would say, tacky furniture, and just leave, because there is no way he can afford to keep the rent up for the both of them for who knows how long. Because remember, the main reason he moved in with Maurice is because his money was low, because his one living father, he gave him, some finances so he can go retire in Florida. So due to that, decrease in his income, he had to split a room or an apartment with Maurice. So I don't know what's going to happen with that, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Maurice losing his job. I do think it's kind of messed up that Miss India and the bank wouldn't call Maurice to let him know. They could have at least done that, but I don't know. Let's talk about it in the comments, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.